and put a big neon sign on them saying Britain is open for business, come on in. The conservative thinker Thomas Sowell once said, immigration laws are the only laws that are ever discussed in terms of how to help people break them. And that is exactly what the Labour Party and the Labour government are now doing. They're talking about immigration laws in terms of how to help illegal migrants break them. And you know who suffers from that the most? It isn't the politicians in Westminster, it's you, the British people. Welcome to Britain's newest luxury resort, only you're not invited, unless that is you happen to have broken into the country illegally. It's hotels and accommodation like this that are costing the British taxpayer upwards of £8 million a day, costing the British taxpayer upwards of £7 billion a year. That's how much this crisis is costing us. To put that in perspective, that's enough for 200,000 nurses' salaries for a year, or 200,000 police officers' salaries for a year. This is where deportations go to die, where hotel chains like Britannia are making upwards of £100 million from this crisis, and where law firms up and down the country are also gaming the system, making an entire industry out of this invasion. They blame the Home Office for delays, but then they file legal claim after legal claim, judicial review after judicial review to stop us from removing these people from our country. They're undermining our national sovereignty. They're undermining the safety of the British people. Now let me be straight with you. We're funding an invasion of our own country. We're paying the French. We're bringing the migrants in. We're giving them housing. We're giving their children a place in the education system, free school meals. We're giving them a phone. We're giving them a cash card. We're giving them eye tests, dental care. We're giving them welfare support. Even the French are saying we're a soft touch, and that's why they're still coming. We're giving them legal aid. We're allowing them to undermine our laws. And I think when the British people look at this, they think this is absolutely crazy. And the truth of the matter is governments on both the left and the right have created this mess. This is all our own doing. And even worse, we're funding the charities and the lobbyists who are actually undermining this system by wanting to keep the status quo and then threatening to sue the government when people say, actually, we'd like a strong border. And I think those people have had enough. Welcome to the Supreme Court, a creation of New Labour in the 2000s and another roadblock to keeping you, the British people, safe and secure in your own country. Now look, the lawyers, the courts would ultimately have to respect any laws that are made in Parliament, and it's in Parliament where we're going to fix this mess. But many of the laws that have been passed in that building behind me are full of exceptions, compromises and loopholes that have allowed an activist legal class in the courts to put international laws and conventions ahead of the national community and the national interest. So who is ultimately responsible for this invasion, this disaster? It isn't the people on the boats, it isn't even the gangs who are smuggling them, and it isn't the hard-working, tax-paying British people. It's the politicians over there, the people who have forgotten that they derive their power, their authority and their legitimacy not from elites in other countries, but from the British people. They could stop this invasion tomorrow if they really wanted to. They could pass those tough laws tomorrow if they really wanted to. They could respect you, the British people, if they really wanted to. Much like they threw everything that the state has to solve another major national crisis, the COVID pandemic. But they don't want to solve this crisis, because this isn't just about policy. This is also about an elite class that now pursues policies like mass immigration and open borders to win applause and a sense of moral righteousness among other elites, while experiencing very few costs for themselves, but imposing enormous costs on everybody else. It isn't going to be their kids who are raped and sexually assaulted by illegal migrants, and it isn't going to be their communities that are torn apart and upended by a policy that nobody in this country ever voted for. Now we're seeing the same old song and dance from a new radical Labour government, which is talking about fast-tracking asylum claims and removing people from the country. But we've seen all of this before, haven't we? Nobody thinks Labour's plan for smashing the gangs is going to work, because we're going to have to rely on other countries to help us do that. And as we've seen, we can't rely on other people to help us stop this invasion. And the moment you smash one gang, another one just pops up to fill its place. It becomes a game of whack-a-mole. And I've yet to meet anybody in the immigration system, the border system, who thinks that Labour's plan is going to work. So with soft laws and no active deterrent, and they'll continue to come in record numbers. The border force is overwhelmed, we haven't got enough detention spaces because governments in the past didn't prepare for this. At the same time, the Home Office isn't working as an effective government department, it's lost control of this crisis. And then we've got an activist legal profession which is exploiting our soft laws, exploiting the status quo to stop us from deporting foreign nationals and getting our arms around this crisis. In fact, many lawyers and courts are hoping the Home Office will let most of the illegal migrants stay, which they do, and the more of them who stay, the more of them who come. And round we go. So what have we seen? We've seen a system that's in crisis. We've seen an elite class that's no longer representing or even respecting the British people. We've seen a country that's coming undone. So what would I do to stop this invasion? I'd reform or repeal Tony Blair's Human Rights Act and replace it with something else. And I'd leave the European Convention on Human Rights so that, like Australia and New Zealand and Canada and other nations, we can actually control who is coming in and out of our own country. I'd also create an active deterrent whereby we process illegal migrants and refugees outside of Britain, away from the British people and our children. That's ultimately what we need to do to keep the British people and our children safe. And if we do that, there'll be a very different sign on the White Cliffs of Dover. Britain is no longer a soft touch. If you come here illegally, we will remove you. We will process you elsewhere, and if you are not a genuine refugee, we will deport you. We will send you to another country. That is ultimately what treating people with respect looks like, and that is ultimately what the British people and our children and our ancestors who fought for this country deserve. I think we should get on with doing that right now.